The smooth finish, the yellow stitching, the chunky soles, the low quality leather, the durability issues, and a brutal break-in period. It's my love-hate relationship with the Doc Marten 2976 Chelsea boot. Today we're going to talk about the quintessential counterculture Chelsea boot. It seems to be everywhere these days. Manufacturing started in 1970 and it seems to be rediscovered by every generation. From the punks of the 70s to grunge to Gen Z today. The Doc Marten 2976 Chelsea boot. Please like and subscribe and let us know in the comments if there are any particular brands or models you want us to review here. Thanks for the support. I bet this is about my 10th pair of Doc Martens. I had the 1460 8-eyelet lace-up boots first, the 1461 Oxfords, the 8053 with the Oxfords with the padded collar. I had the Reader utility shoes. I feel like I've had them all. I love the classic smooth leather. I've had the Wyoming leather, but my favorite Doc finish has got to be the Crazy Horse leather. And of course, these 2976 Chelsea boots with the smooth finish. The Doc Marten 2976 is a classic Chelsea boot. It features the elastic ankle gusset, the smooth leather upper, a signature air cushion sole, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It's a versatile and pretty durable boot that's going to be worn at work or casual occasions. But Doc Martens can be pretty polarizing. Some folks love the distinct style and that kind of counterculture vibe, no matter what. Others just miss the old days when Docs were better quality, or they complain about how hard it is to break in this smooth leather. I say they're both right. Every pair of Docs has a super distinctive style, but they're also lower quality than they used to be. The leather isn't great, the soles are known to split quickly and wear thin, and every pair that sports the classic smooth finish requires some serious break-in, and you're going to need to be prepared for that. This includes the 2976 with the smooth finish. But you also get what you pay for. If you're patient, you search for a bit, you can find different colorways of the 2976 dipping down to close to or sometimes even below $100 certain times a year. If you're not looking for a really high quality pair of boots, you're not looking for something that's going to hold up for years and years as a daily driver, then the stylishness of the 2976 could be perfect for you. In 1945, at the end of World War II, a German army doctor, Dr. Klaus Marten, created shoes with a rubber sole made from material he scavenged after he injured his foot. He eventually partnered with Herbert Funk, and the two eventually then landed on that revolutionary air cushion sole design. Remember, most boots at the time had flat leather soles, and the company originally targeted folks recovering from foot injuries, but then housewives in Germany started to adopt them. In 1959, British shoemaking firm R. Griggs Limited acquired the rights to manufacture the boots in the UK and renamed them Dr. Martens to appeal to the English market. The brand launched its first boot, the 1460, named on the day it was created, April 1, 1960, with the yellow stitching, the leather, the comfortable sole. It quickly gained popularity among workers and then became a symbol of the counterculture in the 60s and 70s. Since then, they expanded from the boots to Oxfords, sandals, derbies, and even have done an occasional sneaker. And amazingly, they're an enduring symbol of individuality and self-expression in the fashion world. Doc Martens faced financial troubles in the early 2000s due to declining sales, but there was a bit of a revitalization after they were bought by a private equity firm that expanded distribution. In recent years, then, Doc Marten has experienced a resurgence among Gen Z consumers attracted to that 90s Y2K fashion nostalgia. The brand also collaborated with designers like Marc Jacobs, retailers like Supreme. In 2021, Doc Marten went public on the London Stock Exchange. So not only can you buy boots, but you can buy a share in the company. The models of Doc Marten can be pretty confusing. There are multiple different shoes, colorways, collaborations. They're all given the same model number. For example, the 2976 comes in 4 different leathers, 11 different colors, multiple finishes, and different embroideries and decorations. There are endless varieties of combinations, all under the 2976 model number. And beyond the standard models, there's some pretty cool special editions and collaborations. One I think is pretty sharp is the Japanese upcycling brand Needles and the 2976 Gothic Americana with special leather and 2-inch heels. Or there's a super subtle smooth leather 2976 with black cording and black stitching. And then there's the one my daughter wants, white smooth leather. Let's talk about features and specs. From my experience, the fit and finish out of the box for the DM 2976 is stellar. Well, my experience has been stellar. Some people have made a lot of complaints about inconsistent quality control. Amazon flags the 2976 as a product with a very high return rate, and that's usually a sign of some problems. Whenever you're shopping for docks, always be on the lookout for red flags that might indicate counterfeits. I pay attention to make sure that any pair of new docks has the right logos and that the stitching holds up to my expectations. Phony docks won't last. In terms of leather, the classic smooth finish dock uses a chrome tan leather. It's very stiff and it's pretty difficult to break in. The outer coating on the leather, it's almost like plastic, and that means that it's going to be water resistant but also not very breathable. Docks use what's called corrected leather. It's a lower grade of leather that's then heavily sanded to a smooth finish, and then a super thin coating is applied. This is one of the ways they can get away with using lower grade leather. It's by sanding it smooth and coating it. But it also helps ensure that every pair is the same out of the box, unlike most leathers that differ from one pair to the next. The uniqueness you're going to find from Doc Martens comes from wearing them and breaking them in. Then they'll be all yours. Doc Martens doesn't shy away from the required break-in period, even to the point of advising you that you should wear heel pads, which they sell. I would recommend multiple pair of socks throughout the break-in period. Doc Martens devotees talk about lifelong scars that they have from breaking in their docks, so be prepared. I've developed a pretty easy break-in process. Leave a comment below if you'd like to see a video on how to break in your docks. Other finishes are more natural in appearance and break in more easily. Check out the Crazy Horse for the 2976 waxed full grain. They don't have the smooth classic finish, but they're both easier to live in right off the bat and easier to break in. The sole of the classic 2976 is made from PVC, polyvinyl chloride. And they're about 1.1 inches tall and have a traditional Doc Marten tread. It's super flexible and offers stability, more stability than you're going to find from some of the other models that have really high soles. At 28.5 millimeters, it's the lowest Doc Marten sole. Other soles, like the Beck lug sole, the quad neoteric, aren't really built from the ground up. They're largely stacked together and heat welded in layers. The soles are bonded to gain height. It also makes them less structured, but they might be more fashionable. You can really see the layering in a 2976 platform boot. It's like a birthday cake. Doc's PVC soles are heat, oil, and chemical resistant, and there's even a slip resistant model for folks working in kitchen or other places that might be slippery. There's a ton of misunderstanding about the Doc Marten air cushion sole. It doesn't actually have air pockets in it. The squares you see through the sole aren't sealed air pockets. It's more like a lattice. And because the lattice is made up of soft material, it flexes when compressed, providing cushioning. Think of air cushion soles as kind of like this pair of running shoes. The open spaces here are structured and made of a soft material that stretches and bends under pressure. The Doc soles are just like this, sideways. And they flex that comes from the soft PVC material stretching and compressing under weight. This super soft PVC material leads to one of the many complaints about Doc Martens and durability. I think I've worn out my soles of every pair I've ever had, flat along the bottom. Some complain about cracking, but mine have ended up so slippery I couldn't wear them anymore. The buy it for life crowd is iffy on Docs. They do have a Goodyear welt. The welt is this little cord that runs along here that's stitched to the inside of the upper. But that welt is still heat sealed and cemented to the sole, so it's not like a traditional stitch that you can cut and pull apart. These are bonded together in the same way a Blundstone or other TPU soles are. There are a number of places that'll still resole your Docs. One quoted me $179. That's $9 more than the list price of these bad boys. Compared to the competition, it's surprising to learn that the 2976 doesn't seem to have any type of heel shank at all. I'd match these up against the Blundstone 500s or the 550s, similar style and price, but much greater stability. What a heel shank does is it acts as a bridge between the height of the heel and the low of the forefoot. Docs are really relying on this super soft PVC to act as that bridge. That lack of structure is really going to wear out your back. They can twist and turn, it makes them softer, but it doesn't offer any structure or support. In shoes or boots, softer isn't always better. Even the softest pair of tennis shoes offers some support by filling that gap. These Doc Martens do come with a removable footbed, but the stock 2976 footbed is super thin. There are some models that include an insole with a bit of gel in the ball of the foot or the heel, and having that upgrade is definitely worth it. These will kill your feet. Beneath the footbed is a very hard Texon fiber board. Reach in and you can feel the compressed cellulose particle board. It's way tougher than your typical cardboard. Docs are really relying on that fiber board to provide all of the structure. So never submerge your docs to the point of getting the insides wet, even if you read something online that says that's how to break them in. If you get that inside wet, that fiberboard can swell and your docs are going to be ruined. Most docs are made in Asia, a small number, like less than 2% of the 1460s or 1461s boast that they're made in England in the original Northamptonshire factory. The main corporate office, the design studio, they're still in Camden, London, with US offices in Portland and APAC in Hong Kong. But by far, the vast majority of docs are made in China, Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, or Bangladesh. Obviously, the smooth leather gets a lot of attention when breaking in docs, but something worth highlighting is the elastic gusseting material. The perfect elastic gusset on a pair of Chelsea boots is pretty easy to get on and off, holds your boot in place, and doesn't choke your calf. On regular boots, of course, you just loosen the laces, but on a Chelsea boot, they just aren't adjustable. That break-in period is different depending on your anatomy. My calves are pretty normal. I don't really have that big of a problem getting the 2976s on and off. A little bit tight at first, but they break in quickly. If you've got bigger calves, this is one of the pain points for buying a new pair of docs, is literally a pain point that you're going to get from the back of this on the back of your calf. Doc Marten sizing is pretty inconsistent, which is kind of funny considering that they've been making the same shoes for so long. Many reviewers, especially women, say the 2976s run large, like really large. Part of the issue could be that there's no half sizes. It's a British shoe that requires a US conversion for somebody like me. In the US, I'm a 10, a 43 in the EU, which equates to a British size 9.5. But docs only come in whole sizes, so I up to the next size up. No matter where you're buying your boots, I recommend looking at the size chart on the Doc Marten site. I'll include it below. Like so many products today, Doc Marten pricing is all over the place. The 2976 lists for $170, but I saw this boot on sale just after Christmas for just over $100. The vegan and some other styles might dip below about $120, but depending on the specific size, the fit, and finish you're looking for, some of those can hit $100 too. But I'd never pay the $170 list price. If you want a pair of docs, there's nothing that's quite going to scratch that itch like a pair of docs. But personally, even having owned about 10 pair, they're just not very good boots. Sure, they're okay for $100 if you want to think of them as like tennis shoes, but for a pair of boots, they're just not going to hold up. With apologies to the punks, to Nirvana, and everyone who made docs have a warm spot in my heart, it's still going to cause a hot spot on your ankle. I don't know that I'd recommend them. Hey, if you want to support the channel, I'd really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe this video. Feel free to share it with your friends.